Hey guys, gonna do a little more of chapter 1. Hopefully it'll clear up the story to the person who thought I was being a bully to one of the characters. You just gotta keep reading. You just gotta keep listening. I'm not a bully, please. Daddy's Money is still chapter 1, and it is titled The Nanny. Let's pick up the story where I left off. Let's take a look at the Bohannon story, the host announced. The oversized viewer located to the right of the family began to display the story of how Eleanor Sims entered the very overworked and disorganized family. Dr. Bohannon had heard of her remarkable skills from a wealthy patient whose nephew had retained her services 2 years earlier. The story began when Margaret Ann was expelled from Westchester School of Young Ladies, a wealthy private school located outside of Charleston, South Carolina. If your name was not on the waiting list practically within minutes after your birth, chances were you did not get into this prestigious school. The children were in and out of daycare and private nannies since birth. Lauren Bohannon had worked for a real estate giant, Brooks and Brady, for 14 years before the birth of Margaret Ann. She and the doctor delayed rearing children until her 30s. Sadly, by the time Eleanor came along into the family, the children were uncontrollable, and the Bohannon marriage was on the brink of divorce. As everyone can see, this life in this house was awful, and I do mean awful, the host jokingly said, as she made her way into the audience to begin the question and answer session. Margaret Ann handed her mother a tissue to wipe the escaping tears falling from her eyes. The doctor gently placed his arm around his wife. Questions poured in from members of the audience. Eleanor was firm with her answers, even when some disagreed with her methods, especially on the subject of stay-at-home moms. Mrs. Bohannon was quick to point out, quitting my job was the best thing I ever done. I wouldn't change that now for anything. Eleanor added that these children, based on her observations, needed their mother at home, adding that it wasn't the case with all families she had helped over the many years. Several in the audience asked for her services, but she had declined. I've agreed to meet with the family next week, Eleanor stated. Once the ordeal was over, she quickly darted off stage. Of course, the children were clinging to her side, for they did not want her to leave. As she picked Tommy up, she noticed the makeup artist had changed clothing, now sporting a more casual look in faded jeans and a tight-fitted t-shirt. A handsome man indeed, she noted. She returned his wink with a smile and a nod of affirmation. The woman with the clipboard noticed the feathers were gone and leaned over and asked, "What did she say to you anyway?" He just smiled and shook his head. See, she wasn't bullying. As I clearly stated at the beginning of the chapter, that Eleanor had an innate ability to sense when someone was having inner turmoil, and she and the young man had talked, and she listened. So, bully, no. And keep in mind, even if Eleanor was a bully, she's a character. She's a character in my book. Not everybody in the world is, rainbows and sunshine and unicorns. Sometimes there are bullies, and sometimes they show up in books. But Eleanor Sims, she is not a bully. You'll see. Just hang on.